It's rapid fire podcasts at the moment, isn't it? Hi everyone, and welcome to Dissecting Dexter, the internet's longest running Dexter podcast, broadcasting from Yorkshire since 2010. We are spoiler free here. We only talk about stuff up to and including this episode, and no spoilers for what's to come. I'm Gareth, your host, and we're really in the thick of it, embracing this new season. We're here to talk about Dexter Resurrection, of course, and it's being really well received. Now, I'm not going to make this a long intro, as I kind of did when I talked about episode 1. Went pretty long, actually, although I was talking about the Dexter experience in London. I will do the usual housekeeping, but I'll try and keep it brief. Thanks to my lovely Patreon supporters who help financially with the running costs of the podcast, especially Kelly, Jennifer, Nick, Ryan, and Phil. If you want to help out, visit patreon.com/dissectingdexter and see which tier you fancy. You don't have to, of course. You could just help me out by leaving a nice review or 5-star rating on your podcast platform of choice. It's all good, and I'm grateful for any support. Thank you. All right, let's get on with this, shall we? Let's not dither. It's Dexter Resurrection Season 1, Episode 2, Camera Shy. Original air date July the 11th, 2025. Written by, wait for it, Scott Buck, who was, as long-term viewers will know, showrunner for Dexter for seasons 6, 7 and 8, which many, I'm sure, will regard as perhaps the weaker seasons of Dexter. Scott Buck, though, was certainly responsible for some very good for writing some very good episodes of Dexter over the years, so he certainly has a good writing pedigree. Dexter still had its highlights, most definitely, and I wish Scott well with writing on Dexter Resurrection. This is certainly a good episode and has a lot going for it. So welcome back, Scott. All the best. Here we go. So we open on the dark streets of nighttime New York, accompanied by an awesome intro from Black Sabbath's War Pigs. Great music drops, and they don't let up in this episode. Scott Reynolds posted a Spotify playlist of all the music on social media if you want to check that out. Sorry, my kitten is trying to walk across my laptop keyboard. Sorry. Should be wanting a co-hosting credit at this rate. Anyway, we follow a man. What I don't want it to do is to walk across and press escape or something and make the recording stop. That would be annoying. Anyway, we follow a man checking out taxi cabs. This is our introduction to the Dark Passenger Killer, played by Mark Menchaca. I hope I've pronounced his name right. He's a seasoned character actor who's previously been seen in shows and movies like Ozark, which is where I particularly recognised him from, but also Homeland, American Rust, The Outsider, No One Gets Out Alive, Raising Dion, Generation Kill, to name but a few. Very experienced actor, and he does a good job here.
Stanley, where are you from?
I'm from Haiti, but I've been living here for many years.
I was born here. Lived in New York my whole life.
Lucky you, mister. So how was the concert?
Don't know, I wasn't there. I don't like that kind of place filled with assholes.
Surely they're not all bad.
Yeah, they are. You don't remember how it used to be before it all went to shit.
The cab driver's nice and friendly, but right from the off, the passenger's tone is off. And in that clip, when he says, "I was born here," there's a menace to it, isn't there? Obviously, this driver ends up another victim, but we learn this killer likes to hear who will miss his victims. It maybe gives him a buzz, reveling in those details. We also learn that he and his family lost everything because of people like him. This seems like a commentary on some of the hatred that's out there, the resentment towards immigrants. Although for Stanley here, there's no suggestion that he's illegal, certainly not. But perhaps our killer here, he blames immigration for his family's struggles. I really don't intend to go down a political rabbit hole, and I'm not going to dig into this issue. It's obviously very emotive for a lot of people, and I feel it necessary based on some of the comments during New Blood. I've got to. I'm sorry. I'd ask that in feedback, if you react to this issue, sorry, as the cat leaps across my laptop, please, let's just keep the feedback relevant to the show and not get political. But we can all agree that there are a lot of strong feelings out there. And our killer, he has clearly taken his anger to a very dark place. We get the new and very quick opening title card. Love the design. Again, though, I'm not keen on the flashes of stuff coming up in the episode. They did this for New Blood. It's so quick, you don't really get much time to dwell on what you see, but I don't like to know too much going in, so I look away, which I suppose anyone can do if they don't like it. And again, I really love the title of the episode being incorporated into the shot. The train passes through the words and they dissipate like before, as blood seeps into the letters. Really, really cool idea. Love that. Poor Stanley's body is discovered, his head in his lap. The killer had what looked like a metal garrote around Stanley's neck, but maybe it was a cutting implement for easy decapitation. We get back with Dexter, who's still watching Harrison. He's prevaricating about approaching him, but you can understand his hesitation. As Harry says, he's worried about rejection, although I think Harrison will jump out of his bloody skin seeing his own ghost dad after he thought he'd killed him. That's another trauma he'll have to deal with, poor bugger. It is going to be awkward though, thinking of the last time they met and what had just happened. Harry stresses that Harrison needs his help, he's in trouble. Obviously they don't know exactly what the situation is, and Dexter realises that, hence a need for caution, but it's true. He could find out what's happened, maybe help cover up any mistakes. Dexter feels he can help him without showing his face, playing it smart, and very sensible too. So Dexter finds his way into the Empire Hotel and goes looking for the crime scene. It reminded me a little bit of that bit in Ghostbusters when they're going up all those stairs. Dexter slowly making his way higher, avoiding the inevitable CCTV in the guest areas. He's still healing, of course, and the physical effort seems to be real. When he gets to the right room, I enjoyed his analysis, bit of old school Dexter, showing his skills, examining a crime scene. He's not lost his touch. The lighting for this scene is really noir and atmospheric. It's funny how Dexter spots the same thing Detective Wallace does later, showing that she could be a match for him in that department. Dexter, though, he notices that Harrison used some of his taught skills and smiles with pride. Perhaps a part of him still quietly hopes that Harrison has a dark passenger after all and really is just like him. He bolts into hiding when Wallace and Olivia come in. They work out what happened and they're bang on. Dexter absorbing all the details from his hiding place.
Let me give you a little advice. Serial killer to serial killer. Where you went wrong was thinking you could have it all. A family and your dark passenger.
You're listening to Dissecting Dexter.
Harrison goes to Elsa's apartment where he's babysitting for her kid, but not before another encounter with a vision of dead Ryan. We learn that Elsa's son has asthma, and she says it's getting worse, and I just wonder if that's Chekhov's asthma, and it will become important later. Maybe an asthma attack at just the wrong time. Meanwhile, Dexter's barking up the wrong tree, speculating that if Harrison targeted a rapist, he's developing his own code. Of course, we know that's not the case, but Dexter's playing catch-up here. Dexter comments that he made plenty of mistakes when he was young, and we saw quite a few of those recently in Original Sin, didn't we? But Harry points out that he was always there to guide him back in the day. Dexter's really wrestling internally about whether to step forward and reunite with Harrison to help him directly, still weighing up the pros and cons, and whether simply fixing a mistake or two from the shadows might not be enough. He finds himself in the kitchen via the service elevator and correctly realises this must be the place where Harrison cut up the body. He kills time waiting for the kitchen to close and appropriately orders way too many burgers. We cut to Iron Lake, where Batista and Teddy are in a diner. Teddy, of course, the new local police chief. Batista is keeping some cards close to his chest and saying nothing about his wider suspicions. He's playing it like a concerned friend. Teddy, bless his heart, has never been positioned as the sharpest tool in the box. For Iron Lake, as nice as Teddy is, I think he's a downgrade from Angela as chief. He doesn't find anything weird about Dexter just vanishing from hospital. Hey, he was free to go, right, he says. But he agrees to help keep an eye on anything in the traffic police system relating to Dexter's truck, which we know Harrison took. Dexter doesn't have it. He took the old guy's truck from the hospital, didn't he? Batista is positioned here in an antagonist's role. He's on the trail of our hero character. I use the word hero in inverted commas here, you know. But like so many detectives on the trail of protagonists, they're on the right side of the law, so morally we can't dislike them. Yet they're a threat to our main character doing what they do, and in Dexter's case, we like to see him do it. We want the reunion with Harrison. We want to see him have a chance to be a better father. But then Batista, we love him too. It's sad to see their friendship broken, and it's broken beyond repair, isn't it? No going back there. Batista carries a sadness. There's a weight on his shoulders, you can see it, and it's a credit to David's performance, how that comes through. He seems weary, having carried the sadness of LaGuerta's death, his wife, even if she was his wife for just a short time. They knew each other and were friends for much longer than that. And he's on the trail now of someone he once considered a brother, a best friend, who he now thinks is responsible for his wife's death and the death of countless others as the Bay Harbor Butcher. He's got to play a clever game if he wants to catch his man. The writers have set this up beautifully, and it builds on everything that happened before between them in the original series. And in Original Sin as well, we saw the fledgling friendship. Fledgling friendship. Try saying that after a few drinks. Back to Dexter, and he very quickly finds the drop of dried blood on the ceiling tile in the kitchen, his killer instincts not letting him down. Harrison has a nightmare of killing his father, presumably a very regular occurrence. Stressed and anxious, he contacts his buddy who works as a valet with the guest cars. They choose a car to go out for a spin in, blow away some cobwebs. Seems this might be a fairly regular thing that they do. As they leave the hotel, it coincides with Dexter leaving the building and Harrison glimpses him. He thinks it's another vision though. How close was that to a reunion? They speed around the streets doing drugs, and Harrison has another vision of Ryan. He's really in a bad place, isn't he? And I guess this blowout is a coping mechanism. Dexter's truck is towed, or at least the truck he stole, if not literally legally his truck. For a moment I thought, oh, this will flag in Iron Lake, but then I realised, no, wrong truck. Dexter has to pick up a cab to take him to the impound, and we get our first scenes with Intare Guma and Bahome Winnie as Blessing Kamara. If you heard the interview last week, you'll have heard me say how I got a good vibe from the character right away. Blessing has a nice air about him, and Intare performs him with a lovely charm. I liked him immediately. If you didn't hear the interview, please go back and listen. It's spoiler-free for the season. Intare has done a lot of TV and film. He's an interesting guy. What's he been in? He's currently in Dexter, but also the new Apple TV show Smoke. We also brought up Treme, Lincoln Lawyer. He's also been in Heroes. He's done lots of stuff. Blessing talks about coming from Sierra Leone and having a family. He seems like a perfect potential target for that taxi driver killer. During the conversation, Blessing brings up the killer, which of course makes Dexter's ears prick up. Worst bit for Dexter is that the press call this guy the Dark Passenger Killer. The cheek of it. Blessing takes him to collect his truck from the impound and mentions one of his friends survived the killer, managing to escape. Dexter asks about working for the same taxi company, Your Car, and I'm not sure here whether he's jumping at a chance to try and maybe lure this killer, or if he genuinely really does need a job and wants to earn some money. With Batista legally bringing Dexter Morgan back into existence, does that get Dexter access to his old bank accounts? I'm not sure. It's been several years. Wouldn't that money have gone now? I don't know how the financial system works in the US, how long an account would be held, or what would happen to it when someone was legally deceased. You'd think the money would go to the next of kin, which would be Harrison, so he'd have got it, but I don't know. He was a kid. With him going to Argentina, would they have been able to get the money to him? Was that even on record? Who knows? I'm overthinking, aren't I? Anyway, Blessing helps and also invites Dexter to a get-together at his house the following night, where this guy who escaped the Dark Passenger Killer will be. He's very trusting, isn't he, Blessing?
My son, I could cry. Actually, I can't cry.
You're listening to Dissecting Dexter.
Damn it.
We see a man trying unsuccessfully to withdraw money from an ATM, and we meet Charlie again. She's not impressed with this guy. She has such an air of self-confidence, bordering on smugness or arrogance, like she holds all the cards and has the upper hand. She's very self-assured.
But I am so happy to hear the big man agree to my little ask. Work's been slow these days, so an extra $100 is really gonna help me out.
You're not getting it.
Say what?
The rules were explained very clearly. No requests, no demands, or you're out, Keith. Or do you prefer to be called the Canton Clever? Either way, you are out. We closed your account. Never contact us again.
Please.
So, we know a little about what could be going on here. We know from all the build-up to the season that we've got Peter Dinklage as Leon Prater, and he has some sort of group of serial killers. We saw it in the trailer, they've talked about it. We saw Charlie last episode leaving an invitation for the Dark Passenger Killer, obviously trying to recruit him to the group. Now this guy, he looks like he's broken the rules, maybe by asking for more money, and now he's being ejected. Sounds like a zero tolerance policy. Charlie's got hold of this guy's murder weapon. She produces it from her car after he offers Prater some more souvenirs. It's a nasty looking bat with nails through it. Does Prater maybe collect trophies from his group, perhaps? Anyway, this guy makes the mistake of laying a hand on Charlie and ends up getting the good news from the bat to his head, and it's goodnight Vienna. Cut to Dexter, enjoying the breakfast buffet, and I smiled at how he regarded the kid with the pancakes smothered in syrup. It wasn't that long ago when he might have had that himself. Now though, it's cornflakes. A much healthier option. Got to watch the cholesterol now, Dexter. Reading about the Dark Passenger Killer in the newspaper, it's funny that Dexter, he's so indignant about the name. It's almost an affront to him. There's only one dark passenger around here, and that's me. Kind of thing. He makes his mind up and decides to accept Blessing's party invitation. While Dexter finishes his cereal, Harrison wakes up in his truck with a very sore head from the night before. He's just killed someone and the police are on his case. He's worried sick. He decides to sell the truck. Meanwhile, the detectives are back at the hotel reviewing CCTV and have done some good work checking the other hotel rooms. I said it before and I'll say it again, this Claudette Wallace is good. She might not make any friends along the way, but I can see she'd get the job done. They identify Harrison from the CCTV, and now he's in bother. He could maybe do with some help from his dad, but Dad's currently busy stuffing his face at Blessing's house. It's party time. We meet Blessing's family, and Dexter gets to have a chat with the driver who escaped the dark passenger. He's shown some dashcam footage, and the killer's face is all glowing and unrecognisable. It makes for quite a startling image, really. Quite disturbing. Blessing's daughter points out that the guy must be using infrared lights in his hood to obscure his face from any camera. Very clever idea, and I liked it that it was someone other than Dexter to work it out. I liked Dexter's sincerity, telling that cab driver, Chike, that he was very smart and brave in getting away. That was thoughtful and sort of encouraging or validating. Is that the right phrase I'm thinking of for the guy? The other thing to come from this party is that Dexter gets accommodation. Blessing has an apartment under his house and offers it for Dexter to stay in. The place looks like a ready-made kill room, doesn't it? We also see Dexter's got a new car. He must have sold that truck for it. All set, wheels, a roof over his head and a job in the offing. Dexter goes and gets a new driving licence from the DMV. I liked his smile, looking at his name in print on the ID, like he's getting his own identity back, legitimately. He looks again at the dashcam footage and notices a logo on the killer's backpack. Bit of an error by the killer there. Big one, actually. I suppose his victims wouldn't live to identify it, but he's forgetting dashcams. He identifies the company and where the office is, and now Dexter's working for your car. He can get an alert for whenever someone calls for a lift from there. Maybe get to see this guy for himself. He's still got a bee in his bonnet about the name The Dark Passenger Killer. It's so petty, really, how much it's wound him up. But then he's had that name in his head for almost as long as he can remember, and I like his musing about how he should have trademarked it. Funny line. And again, we have some old school Detective Dexter stuff as he works through the employees and identifies a potential suspect who seems to want to stay off the radar, Ronald Schmidt. Pretty good going, managing not to have any online presence. Dexter heads to the company office and watches. Harrison, meanwhile, is working. Elsa thanks him for babysitting and suggests they have a drink. Judging by the silly smile, I think Harrison has a crush. His bubble is quickly burst. Not that it was much of a bubble to begin with, but perhaps the one bright spot amid the awful turmoil and trauma that he's dealing with. The police ask to speak to him. Oh, bugger. We finish the episode with Dexter. It's got dark now, and he's still watching for an appropriate-looking person to leave the office. He spots someone and follows, doing a nice little trick. He gets a look at him with his camera phone, and bingo, this is the guy. He goes to take a cab, and Dexter steps in the way, pretending the cab's for him. A potential victim saved right there, and we'll get back to that. Dexter follows him into the subway, but the guy gets away. Dexter's pissed off, but Harry points out how Dexter didn't hesitate to jump in and prevent Ronnie from getting in the taxi. An innocent life saved. Harrison points out this is different from what he might have done in the past, where he might have just let things play out, get proof, etc. Since when do you care about other people, he asks. Since now, Dexter says, but he's more focused on his target. He's made up his mind to kill him. Nice little breaking of the fourth wall as he looks into the camera in that final moment. This was a good episode. Nicely written, Scott Buck. Good job. And in terms of Dexter's personal journey, it's something we've often talked about, isn't it? The personal journey. How this episode finished, it's maybe significant. We've mentioned rare, selfless acts from Dexter recently. In episode 1 we talked about it. Something that is perfectly normal and human to do. We all do it sometimes. And how on the surface, to others, Dexter might in the past have seemed to do selfless acts. But when he has, it's been to serve his own agenda. But here, as Harry says, and of course Harry is part of Dexter's psyche, he put himself at risk to prevent harm to the taxi driver, protecting an innocent. Ronnie might recognise Dexter later if they cross paths again. It was a selfless act. I love that. It shows growth, and the fact that they pointed out through Harry suggests to me this may not be the only time he does this during this season of Dexter Resurrection. Maybe this will be his redemption arc. Still killing killers perhaps, but resolving to look out for others more as he goes. Being more like the Dark Defender that he fantasized about. And of course also being a better father for Harrison, that's no small detail. Maybe modelling to him how he can have this darkness but still do good. I like that. Good episode. And New York looks great, doesn't it? This show is really cinematic and I love the cinematography. So much still to come. I'm ready. Are you? Alright, well let's find out what you guys think. It's feedback time.
Listener feedback.
Okay, first off, a quick mention for Michelle, who emailed to say she's recently found the podcast and was enjoying some Dexter while recovering from minor surgery. She says, although the show has a different feel, I'm excited. It's definitely darker than the original series, but it's also somewhat lighter than New Blood, which I wasn't as fond of. I really enjoyed the throwbacks to the original series, of which there are many, and I look forward to watching along with you and your other listeners. Thanks for giving me someone to share this adventure with. You're welcome, Michelle. Thanks for emailing, and I hope you're all better now. Madhavi from Australia has emailed to say, in the first episode, we saw imaginary Dokes telling Dexter that there is part of him that is still good. And in the recent episode, the second episode, imaginary Harry tries to point out that Dexter did a good, decent thing by saving that driver's life. I think this will be a theme for the season. Dexter realising and acknowledging he has elements of a good person and is capable of doing good things. More so than he has before. We've already had his subconscious trying to tell him this twice in the form of his imaginary friends. I'm curious where this will go and what it will mean for Dexter's journey. Thanks for that. Yes, I agree. This topic has come up a bit in the promotional videos for the show too, and I brought it up in my review earlier. We've long talked about Dexter's journey and what each season or key event might mean for it. Does he grow? Does he take backward steps? It's set out in Season 1 as his mission to become normal. Dexter himself used that word. You guys know I don't like to use the word normal in relation to people, because what is normal? It's something we can see and compare ourselves to, and it's not always a positive thing. Why can't I be like normal people? What are normal people anyway? We're all unique, and Dexter's certainly that. Of course, most people don't go around killing folk, albeit murderers, but Dexter long ago wrote himself off as a monster, and as recently as New Blood, even the writers wanted to remind us of that. I would like to see Dexter ultimately rid himself of the Dark Passenger and stop killing altogether, but if he can't, then let's see him stop doing everything in its service. Be more selfless, do things genuinely for others. And we've had some seeds already to lead us to think this might be a theme for the season. Explore that nugget of good, as they put it. That kernel of good. Dexter acknowledged it in the subway station briefly, but was too set on Ronald Schmidt to dwell on it. Hopefully there's much more to come about this. Thanks, Madhavi. John Campbell emailed. He thinks it's a solid start, but says, the whole Angela scenario seems a bit strange to me. I understand the slight remorse for him bringing down Iris's killer, but the whole change-up on bringing him to justice just seemed a bit off and massively out of character for her. Another little nitpick is how Harrison managed to move to New York, get a job, sign up for some sort of exam course and pass it all within 10 weeks. The man moves quick. I thought we'd have seen more of the whole serial killer convention by now. We know that there's still a lot of big stars to make appearances in the show, and I expected us to have met a few more of them by now. I'm interested to see how they all get introduced, and I hope it's not all just crammed into 1 or 2 episodes. Thanks, John. Yes, I discussed this in the last podcast about Angela. I can understand her saying, we're even. Iris was a massive thing for her, and Dexter brought her closure, which, well, perhaps we underestimate the impact of that. I get why she'd let Harrison go too, but maybe she considered that a gesture to Harrison and not Dexter. Angela was depicted as a good person, a decent person, a dedicated police officer. But she ended up hanging Logan out to dry, which he didn't deserve. And she retracted her very solid suspicions about Dexter with Batista, which does seem out of character. That seems out of proportion with what she might have felt she owed Dexter for Iris. I don't know. I don't think we're going to get any more explanation and have to just accept we didn't know Angela as well as we thought. People can always surprise us. As for the serial killer convention, we know they're coming, just not exactly when. We've had some teases with Charlie's character, but I like that they're letting the new show and the new situations breathe before bringing all that in. It also implies that they're not the central core of the season. They're more the MacGuffin, if I can put it like that, the big bad or big bads to deal with. But I'm encouraged that they're more interested in exploring the main characters at this point. Cheers, John. Shout out to Luke Farmer, who I nearly met at the Dexter Experience, but not quite. Sorry to miss you, Luke. Luke also went to the event and enjoyed it. Luke was a regular feedbacker during New Blood and even got to meet Michael C. Hall at one of his gigs around that time. And I seem to remember he sent in a voicemail talking about that. Hope to hear your thoughts on Resurrection soon. Shabana wrote into dissectingdexter@gmail.com to say, I got the same feeling I used to get with old Dexter. I was so hyped to see Trinity, Miguel and Dokes. Was a great surprise, motherfucker. I was impressed with the way they explained everything that happened since we last saw Dexter. I loved the morning routine Harrison did, like his dad. The nostalgia was getting to me. Mark Menchaca really does look like Michael C. Hall. Probably my only gripe is the same one I've had in the past, which is, where did Dexter get money when he was legally dead? How does he have money to buy a car and clothes and rent an apartment now that he's been dead for so long? That's the only thing that bugged me. Also, Trinity said Dexter's son was found in blood at the same age as Dexter, which is inaccurate. Other than that, I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes immensely, and I feel like Dexter is back. Dexter fans rejoice. Yes, thank you, Shabana. Yeah, I enjoyed those cameos too. They all had meaningful things to say. Very effective. The morning routine for Harrison, that was fun. Yes, some parallels to Dexter's back in the day. That wasn't accidental. Dexter's money, I mentioned that in my review. I'm certain he'll have got the money for the new car from selling that truck. And perhaps they just didn't need to specifically show it to us. They're trusting us that we'll make that connection. I really don't imagine his old bank accounts would still exist after all this time. But we know he's got straight into this Your Card job, so we'll earn some money from this. We know he's got rent to pay, so he'll need to actually do some work. Maybe we'll see that in the next episode, and maybe that's how he'll eventually get the Dark Passenger Killer. Clinton Cody has dropped me a line. He enjoyed the interview with Intari and has a theory about the show. Here we go. He says Dexter will find the Dark Passenger's apartment and find the invitation that Uma gave him. Dexter will question him about the invitation, then kill him. The invitation is the Empire Hotel. The gala that keeps getting mentioned in the first episode is actually being held by Dinklage's character. Harrison will be arrested when he turns the watch over. The cops think he killed... turns the watch over to the cops. The cops think he killed him. Sorry, I should have read this before I read it out. Okay, he'll be arrested when he turns the watch over. Got it. The cops think he killed him, and his manager doesn't defend him. When hunting for the date rape drug to find someone to kill, like Harrison did to set him free, he meets Kristen Ritter's character, and she hints to Dinklage's character. Dexter also learns that the manager actually helped the rich rapist get away with it in the past, so he kills the manager the same way Harrison did, and disposes of him the same way to get Harrison free. Then back at work, Harrison runs into Dexter at the hotel, but Dexter holds his finger over his mouth to be quiet. That is when Harrison understands how he is free, and also that he is currently hunting another killer. I know there'll be much more, but that's the Clef Notes to my prediction. Thanks, Clinton. Okay. I'm sorry I butchered reading that email. Forgive me. I certainly think Dexter will kill the Dark Passenger killer. How he does it, we will see, but I agree the gala that got mentioned has to be Leon Prater's gala, right? Could Dexter kill the manager, though? Even if he was an accomplice to Ryan? Wouldn't fit the code exactly. The guy isn't a killer himself. He'd be another scumbag for sure. I love that you're theorising, though, and working through what could happen. We need lots more predictions, please, from people. Come on. It's fun to spitball and wonder what could happen. I'm hoping that Prater's group is an opportunity to set up big bads for future seasons. Play a longer game with some of them. We know they're intending this show to run for more than one season. Build things up. Give them room to develop and make the eventual payoff better down the line. I had an email from Matt Battles here in England, which is great. Matt was one of the very first people ever to send in feedback to the podcast way back in 2011. I remember those first few podcasts. It felt like I was just talking to myself. But like with any new venture, it takes time for people to find it. And Matt was one of the first to email, which I will always appreciate and remember. We communicated briefly earlier this year as I reached out for the 15th anniversary to see where he's at, and he took my advice and caught up with Original Sin and really liked it. He was very impressed with the new cast and how they portrayed our beloved characters, especially enjoying Molly Brown's performance, and he mentions how Deb took drugs back then. Given she'd taken them in the past, it makes more sense that she'd easily snap back to that in Season 8 as a coping mechanism. Matt says it makes a lot of sense that when needing to get as far away from her head as possible, she would relapse back into this destructive pattern. Matt also says, and I quote, "I also had this sense of her being lost in her life, which actually permeates through the two iterations. To me, it highlights the notion that Deb, in all likeliness due to Dexter, never truly found her place in the world. All the traumas, the challenges, and the failed relationships never gave her a settled position. She never truly found a home, which makes her killing LaGuerta and eventual death seem even more tragic in retrospect." Thanks, Matt. Some really good thoughts there about Deb, and you're spot on. Matt plans to crack on with Resurrection next, and maybe we'll hear from him about that soon.
And just like that, we're back with more Dexter. Oh, well, I guess that sound effect might have to get retired. I might have to find a new goofy sound effect. Let's keep an ear out this season, you guys. Gareth, I know this podcast is going to have a lot of feedback, and I know a lot of the feedback is going to be talking about the same issues, the same issue that you had, the same issue that I had. So I don't want to take up too much time. I take notes while I'm watching the episode. Let me just kind of go through the important notes so we can get in and out, and other people, you don't got to listen to me do a 9-minute feedback. Visually, this looks a lot like New Blood. It's got the same narrow widescreen aspect ratio. Audibly, they're using more of the original score from the original series pre-New Blood. There wasn't a lot of original score in New Blood, but in this one, they were definitely reusing stuff that they never even used in New Blood. Dexter's hair looks great. He's looking good because he doesn't have that embarrassing Caesar haircut. He's looking like his handsome young self that we all know and want him to be. Of course, we got those fan service flashbacks of Trinity, Miguel, Harry, and Dokes. I can't help but feel a little sorry for the female characters, and by extension, maybe I should feel sorry for the actresses, I should say. Any of the important women in Dexter's lives would have been appropriate for a little ghost visit. You know, we didn't see Rita or Lila. Lila would have been a good antagonistic kind of thing. We didn't see LaGuerta, Lumen, or even Hannah. Any of them would have, had something important to say in a ghost form. I guess we really don't even know for sure if they got asked back. I happen to know Julie Benz is doing like the Phoenix Comic-Con, selling photographs of herself for money, so I can't imagine she would say no if they asked her back. But I won't complain. Everyone should know I'm a big Miguel head, so I was very glad to see Miguel back, even just for a little tiny bit. But Harrison's in New York now. Just a reminder, he was born in 2009 in the original show. If this takes place in March 2022, that means he should be like 12 or 13 tops. not only did they age him up for New Blood to be a high schooler, it seems that within 10 weeks, they've aged him up to kind of be like a college-aged kid. He's living on his own. He's got his GED in 10 weeks. Okay. Whatever. I'm not crazy about the character anyway, so just mold him to make him cooler, make him, they got to make me want to like him. Speaking of Harrison, not only has he inherited his dad's bloodlust, he's inherited his dad's incredible luck. Harrison is mostly, as of now, getting away with a murder he did in the middle of his shift in this expensive hotel with Dario Argento lighting inside the room in this empty kitchen. They did kind of set up in the next episode that the kitchen closes. I have a hard time believing an expensive hotel would close their kitchen in New York City, but whatever. Harrison's very fortunate that the world wants him to kill. The big thing everyone's going to be talking about, I presume, and I know you had a problem with, was the scene with Teddy. As far as I'm concerned, it's a very ugly solution to an ugly problem. They wrote New Blood to be the end, and so they came up with that utter, complete, nonsensical bullshit. And that might be the best thing they could do. I mean, if as a writer your assignment was, you need to get Dexter to New York City and we don't want to get Julia Jones back, I mean, maybe that's the best they can do. I know everyone else is going to say it, but this might be the best way to write themselves out of the corner they wrote themselves into, unless we wanted to watch Dexter become a legal procedural where he's in court and then in prison, because realistically that's exactly what would happen. Still, it is in keeping with the original series' almost complete lack of misunderstanding of the legal system, where Angela can determine, Dexter killed Logan in self-defense. He's good to go. I'll just decide that. Because in the original series, at the very, very end, Quinn and Batista did the same thing. We just watched Dexter on videotape kill a guy in custody. Fuck it. It's all good, though. We watched it happen. It's not even going to be a problem. Don't worry about it. Also, Angela can admit to everyone that she shot Jim and also say Jim was completely innocent the whole time and was defending himself. But she can just move away with her daughter, chill like that. In the real world, you prosecutors and juries would need to decide if something's self-defense. I would have a hard time believing you would convince anyone Dexter was defending himself when he had Logan in a chokehold. What I'm trying to say is laws matter. Due process matters. I can only assume Jim Lindsay's credit cards and junk still work, because I have no idea how Dexter is buying hotel rooms and a brand new car with credit. He's got the friendly Uber driver, blessing. What a peach of a guy. We can only hope nothing bad happens to him. He's like, man, there's a serial killer out there, but here's my personal address. Come to my party, move into my home. I don't know if cybersecurity firms usually publish professional headshots of all their employees for the public to see, but it was really nice of them to do that for Dexter. And finally, I think everybody else or somebody else will say this, that Dexter, he stays lying to himself. He goes, I can't cry. And it's like, bitch, yes, you did. You cried when you killed your brother. You cried when you thought you'd never see Harrison again in the season 3 finale. You cried 2 more times after that. Harry says, Dexter, you've never saved anybody. What? It's like, oh my God, dude. You did that in the 3rd episode when you pretended to lose a Frisbee in the Everglades. You did that in the finale of the prequel series that just aired 4 months ago. I'm not sure if Dexter's lying to himself or Clyde Phillips is. Anyway, Gareth, thank you for listening in. Thank you for running this podcast for 15 years. And here's to 15 more years. Cheers to you, my friend. You the best.
Thanks, Travis, and thank you, my friend, for being here on this journey with me. You too are one of the longest supporters and contributors. You're also a Patreon, which I appreciate. And I always enjoy chewing the fat about the show with you. If I ever get to LA, the first beer is on me. Glad to have you back with us for Resurrection. My wife wholeheartedly agrees with you about Dexter looking good. But he sure does. Much better hair. Getting older very gracefully. You make a good point about the dream sequence. Where are the ladies? Apart from Harry, the others were adversaries, but Lila would have certainly fitted the bill. I wonder if we'll get another sequence later that features the innocents he's caused pain to. Rita, Deb would both certainly fit. How about LaGuerta, Asta and Cody? Could happen. Blessing, yes, he's very trusting. You argue maybe too trusting. Maybe he's got this far by being sensitive to the vibe he gets from people. Some people just get a sense of who they're interacting with, don't they? First impressions. Not all of us are good at picking up on things from people. My wife is someone who first impressions, they often end up being right. Blessing, he was very quick to invite this stranger into his home. We know that Dexter isn't the cab driver killer, but Blessing doesn't. Not for certain. But I like that his trust was rewarded. Dexter certainly doesn't intend him any harm. You bring up a key point about the legal system, and it's something that could come up in relation to the original show. We could really get into that and pull a lot of the show apart. The writers, and not just about this show, but any show that isn't specifically about the legal system, writers often have a tricky job to keep their show moving in a dramatic and interesting way, and for Dexter, no one wants to see the show turn into a legal procedural. However, it might sit better with many of us if due process was acknowledged a bit more, but they really did have to dig themselves out of a deep hole with how New Blood ended in order for Resurrection to move on. Not their fault at all, and I don't blame them one bit. And they had to come up with something to get Resurrection moving pretty quickly. Unfortunately, it ends up making Iron Lake Police looking like chumps, and poor Logan is hung out to dry. Another innocent victim of Dexter. Maybe he can show up in that future dream sequence I just mentioned with Rita and Deb. Give the poor guy a chance to respond. That might be good. At the moment, he's been royally shafted by Angela and has no chance to reply. And honestly, I don't expect we'll ever see him again. Thank you, Travis. Kelly emailed, and you heard Kelly on the Patreon podcast a few weeks ago. She also enjoyed the Harrison morning routine as a homage to Dexter back in the day, and she says Harrison going into the hotel and greeting everyone reminded her of Dexter walking into Miami Metro with donuts. Everyone seems to like Harrison just the way they like Dexter at work. On the recent podcast, Kelly said she thinks Harrison will be a killer, and she writes now, Harrison is a killer, I knew it. Just an observation, I don't think I would be wearing AirPods while cleaning up a crime scene and chopping up a body, as I'd want to be sure I was aware of my surroundings. I like the way Harrison's victim was laid out at the crime scene at the garbage dump. Ice truck killer vibes right there. Yeah, sorry about that. I concede Harrison has killed, so you are literally correct. I still don't think he'll end up a serial killer, though. That Ryan guy was a very special piece of shit, and he needed to go before he ruined more lives. Harrison took out the trash, to coin a phrase, but he did it in red mist, not planned or anything like that. And unlike Dexter, I don't think he got any kind of buzz from it. As for Batista, Kelly writes, even though Angela backtracked on everything, the cat is out of the bag. My prediction is that the police get close to catching Harrison. Dexter gets them off the trail, and then Harrison kills Batista to protect his father. He's already following the code, and number one rule is don't get caught. Okay, see, I just asked for more predictions and theories, and you've come up with a good one, Kelly. Harrison kills Batista to protect his dad. Now that is a doozy, and I could see that happening. I can't see Dexter doing it. No way. Batista doesn't fit the code in any way, shape or form. Plus they've been friends. Dexter couldn't do it. But Harrison, he doesn't have that history with Batista. He's on his own path, and although I don't think he'll end up a serial killer, murdering out of some dark need or urge, perhaps he will be someone who can kill given the right circumstances and only out of necessity. There's a difference there, although at the end of the day someone still dies. But Batista certainly doesn't deserve it. However, the show doesn't shy away from tragedy, so I could see it happening. Nice one, Kelly. More of that, please. Misha on Spotify commented, "I just pray that Angel isn't the one to take Dexter down. I can understand why he would be, but it breaks my heart even to think about." Actually, Dexter being taken down at all kind of breaks my heart, so there's that. Thanks, Misha. There are a lot of fans out there who just want Dexter to stay free and keep on doing what he's doing, while, as we know, some think morally he should face consequences for what he's done. It's something I'm sure we'll talk about more as we go along. Lastly, Stop Press. Here's Luke. I mentioned him a bit ago about the Dexter experience, but he's literally, as I'm recording, sent in just under the wire a voicemail. Here he is.
Hi Gareth. Here's some feedback on the first couple of episodes. To be honest, like everyone else, I'm just absolutely buzzing that it's back. And for me, the opening 10 minutes of the first episode was incredible, right up there with one of my favourite passages from all of the Dexter shows. I was literally sat there just smiling ear to ear. I did think it was a shame that Deb wasn't involved in it. Definitely missed her presence, but having Harry back is really nostalgic. I just think it's a shame that we didn't get the chance to have Deb and Harry inside Dexter's head at the same time, and maybe bickering a little bit and offering different opinions and slants on what he should and shouldn't be doing. But it's a minor gripe in the context of just how good that opening was. Absolutely loved the Miguel scene in particular. Thought it was really, really well done. So yeah, started off strong, and to be honest, it just continued to get better and really surpass all my expectations. The Angel reunion was great. He's definitely going to be a big problem this season. I'm not sure the writers would want to kill him off. I don't think they want to go down that route. So I'm not sure how it's going to resolve. But it's going to be strange to see Angel as maybe an antagonist and maybe a little bit of a sort of unofficial villain for the season. I'm certainly getting that vibe that he's been really reframed as somebody that we're gonna have a problem with to a certain extent. But how they did that scene was great. We've been waiting for it for a long time, and a lot of tension, a lot of passive aggression in there. The one thing I thought was a little bit weird was that he said LaGuerta told him in confidence that she thought Dexter was the Bay Harbour Butcher, and that wasn't quite the case. I mean, in season 7, LaGuerta's pretty out in the open and very public about her suspicions, and she hauls Dexter in handcuffs. So I don't think that was quite told right, but minor point. The bit that did stump me, and I reckon this is going to be the same for a lot of people, was the explanation around Angela and Logan. But I've reflected on it, and I think the way that I can wrap my head around it is that in New Blood, before Angela goes to see Kurt's horrendous museum of women, that's when she's really after Dexter. That's when she's saying she's going to push for the death penalty. That's where she's going to push to have him arrested, and it's before she sees the true magnitude of what he was doing. So in my head, we see her have a real sort of panic attack while she's in Kurt's museum, and maybe seeing exactly what he'd done to so many people, including Iris, including Molly Park, people that she was friends with. Maybe that was enough to start to change her viewpoint on exactly what he does. And it reminded me a little bit of like a shrunken down, sped up Deb scenario. When Deb finds out, at first she's appalled, and then later on she's asking him to kill Speltzer, she's asking him to kill Hannah McKay. So I think she had a similar epiphany, if you like, and that's where she was really coming from with the "we're even." As much as it was around finding Iris and helping out on that front, I think she saw that what Kurt was, and that actually maybe for her what Dexter does isn't too bad. So that's how I kind of wrap my head around it. I also thought maybe a lot of her anger and annoyance and vengeance was because she was his partner, and she'd been lied to about who he was, maybe the dust settled on that a little bit. She calmed down on that aspect, and that's why she's backed off of pushing for prosecution and just wiped her hands of it. So that's kind of how I'm dealing with that little plot gap, if you like. The Logan bit does feel strange, to just say, oh, he shot at you and you killed him in self-defense, so fair enough. That feels a little bit weak. Maybe the writers are thinking that they don't need to explain it too much, because we know that Logan was pretty chummy with the Caldwells. Maybe Angela has played on that Logan was actually working with Kurt or certainly was involved in what was going on, and that's why he took a shot at Dexter. And it's weak. I just think we have to have a little bit of a gentleman's agreement with the writers that for us to continue to have Dexter, we've got to glance over this fairly quickly without analysing it too much. But yeah, the Angela piece, I think it's logical. I can understand. Yeah, maybe she's changed her mind just because of what she saw. I do think the Logan side of it, there would be a real investigation into exactly what happened, and I certainly don't think Teddy would be hugging him and cuddling him in hospital when he knows that he still killed Logan, accidental or not. But anyway, like he said, we can't look into that too much. We've got to just sort of let that one go, I think, to a certain extent. But yeah, don't want to go on for too much longer. So just love that it's back. Love that there's been a return of a little bit of the light humour that was missing from New Blood. It feels a lot more like Dexter than New Blood did, in my opinion. And just to end on a prediction, and I think probably a lot of people will have guessed this. I've been wondering since I saw the trailer, like, how is he going to get in some serial killer ring? How is he invited to this weird Avengers of serial killers? And I think clearly what's going to happen is he's going to kill the Dark Passenger killer, and given how much they look like each other, he will imitate him and infiltrate this serial killer ring, and that's how he's going to get involved with the group of serial killers. So yeah, that's my feedback. But ultimately, I'm just about buzzing it's back. Enjoyed it so much and can't wait for the next episode. So looking forward to watching them. Looking forward to listening to the pod, and cheers for everything you do, Gareth. Nice on, mate.
All right, thanks, Luke. That's an interesting idea in that dream sequence, or at some point in the season, if we have Dexter seeing Deb and Harry, and that they kind of bicker with each other. I think that could provide some funny scenes. You bring up Batista and how he's being positioned as an antagonist this season, most definitely, and it's a new experience rooting against him. We've never done that before, have we? Great point about Angela, and I love that you brought this up. This notion that once she was obviously all out for Dexter, and once she saw the scale of what Kurt Caldwell had done, and knowing that Dexter had brought him down, she realises what Dexter does and the good that can come from it. And maybe she found some way to be at peace with what he does and letting him carry on, knowing that he wasn't ever killing innocents and that it was always killers that he targeted. It could have been some kind of epiphany, and while for someone like her, maybe there was still very much a moral grey area. Yeah, perhaps that goes a long way to explain why she said we're even. Yeah, maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough. Okay. For Logan, obviously there's still issues there, but I like how you suggest that we have a gentleman's agreement with the writers. That is a great way of putting it. A gentleman's agreement to say, okay, it is what it is, and we want to move on and enjoy this season of Dexter, so let's crack on. I like it. And your prediction there about Dexter and how he may infiltrate Prater's group, obviously we'll see, but I think that's a really good, plausible theory that he kills the Dark Passenger killer and pretends to be him, using that invitation that Charlie left to infiltrate the group. Yeah, interesting times ahead. Thank you, Luke. More of that, please. All right, thanks everyone who got in touch. You know I love to hear from you, and honestly, I'm a little surprised we perhaps didn't get more complaints about the Angela Logan explanation, but I don't know, many of you are happy to let the show just move on and get us to New York and on with the show. That's okay. I think Luke has managed to convince me. We know the writers had a hard job of undoing the ending of New Blood, and maybe there simply wasn't an efficient, speedy way to get out of it that would satisfy everyone. I'm not a writer, so can't pretend to know any better, but this show is doing some really good things, and I love the fresh exploration of Dexter's character, that idea of the kernel of good, versus Harrison, who I do think has a positive moral compass, but maybe a predisposition for violence when the situation arises. Interesting times ahead. And I will be right here to talk about it and be that companion to the show for you, and through the feedback we can break it down together. Dissecting Dexter together. Come back and join me for episode 3 in a few days. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care. Bye for now.